Hey guys, it's Becky here. So we've got a break in the rain, which is nice, and the ground is nice and fresh. It's not so crispy when you're walking on it. We've got fresh green sprouts, kind of grass coming up. It's like there's grass growing again. It's a miracle. Hi Dolly. So I've got to get a lot of work done today because the rain's going to come again tomorrow. I got to working on the hay. Finally, our new little escape artists are still in their little dungeon. Yeah, there you are. Hi. Yeah, the minute you go near them, they run and flee and up on the wall. Yeah, and this still didn't keep them in completely. I had to tack yet another piece of wood up there. This is getting ridiculous. Because they could even get out of that. But there we go. They're very, very skittish, as I already mentioned, so we're taking it super slow. I go in, spend some time with them each day, and try to feed them and get them used to me and stuff. So I think it's gonna be a long process. I don't feel comfortable putting them out of the field yet, so they're unfortunately stuck in there until I'm confident that they will be able to be contained in the field, and that also I can catch them again should I need to. But anyway, so I got to working on the hay last night. It was very discouraging. I was so upset last night. I think I was exhausted, and it was a crap load of work. You can see how big they are. That one actually looks not too bad, but it's deceiving. Like, it looks, once you start tearing it apart and you think like, oh, only this much is, it looks a different color, this much is probably wet and moldy, but it just keeps going and going and going. And I had 3 giant truckloads of hay that I pulled off of this one that was just mold, and ugh, it was awful. So quite a bit, as you can see, was unusable. So that's discouraging. But I had to use the respirator while I was doing it, and you get so that you're not sure, like is this moldy? Like, I don't even know anymore. You just look at so much of it, and it's like I can't even tell if any of it's good. But I think this is good. I'm gonna have Poppy and Mark look at it and see what they think. I really don't want to use moldy hay for my animals, of course. I was pretty breathing it in last night, even with the respirator, and oh, it's just covered in it. It was flying this white dust everywhere. It was horrible. So I'm not interested in tackling those anytime soon. That may have to be a job for Mark and Poppy. Well, Mark. So today, we got the sun. I'm going to try to get started on our run-in shelter fencing. We've got more goats on the way. It's an epidemic, I swear. You buy a farm, and before you know it, you can't stop buying animals. It's like an addiction. But yeah, so I've got a La Mancha buck coming in a week or 2. He's just gonna be a little baby, and hope he's friendlier than my other ones. And then we've got Angora goats and some alpacas. So now that I've got my dairy stock that I want to work on the fiber. So that's kind of what I'm interested in raising for fiber and for the dairy. So we are putting them down here. Get off. So just past, there's the barn, and there's the fencing I had set up and was not used yet. I might bring one of my other goats down here. I've never put them in an electric fence before, but maybe I should give that a shot. So here's the run-in shed. It needs some work. It should suffice now, but before winter comes, we want to reinforce the inside, reinforce the roof. This was kind of slapped together by the previous owner. I think it's for cows. So here it is. Yeah, yeah. So definitely the roof needs to be reinforced with all the heavy snow loads we get here, and put some ventilation in, because it's really hot in here. There's no airflow whatsoever. Obviously there was leaking here, so figure that out. Yeah, but all in all, it's pretty good. So we plan on having 2 herds rotating through 8 pastures. That's the end game plan. I don't have the money for that kind of fencing yet. It's going to be about 2,000 feet of fencing. So that's going to take some time. Yeah, so I plan on splitting this in half, putting a wall right down the center here and blocking this off into 2 sections. So there's one here and one there. And then coming out here, we'll have a little corral area that'll be split into 2 as well. And then off each way will be like kind of pie-shaped pastures with gates from the corral opening into each one. So we'll have 4 on this side for this half of the run-in shed and 4 for this side. So the plan is to be able to let them graze one section and have the gate open, but still be able to use the shed for shelter. A lot of S's there. And then after a week we would close that gate and then open the next gate to the next pie where they would use that one and still be able to use the shed. So the point is to be able to get them to use the one shed for one shelter and bring them in each night and then let them out again in the day, but rotate a weekly rotation so that the first pie field gets time to recover, and about 30 days is what we read it takes to kill off parasites and whatnot. So and then just keep rotating through. So we'll have 2 groups of goats, sheep, alpacas rotating through these 8 pie-shaped fields with the one shelter. That's the master plan. We'll see if we can make that happen or not. I am not equipped to reinforce the shed. That's not in my wheelhouse in any way. So, but I can do the fencing. So I'm going to work on the fencing. Yeah, and later on down the road we plan on putting a pig pen sort of on this side and maybe behind the shed there a little bit. I can't tell how much room there is for wintering pigs if we ever decide to do that. But that's down the road. So since I've got, oh my goodness, how many more? 8 more animals coming in a couple weeks. It's time to get working on the fencing. Oh. And so I got a place to put them. Yeah, so I was concerned about not having another guard animal down here, but I've been talking to the owner of the Angora goats and the alpacas and asked what they do, and she says they just bring them in each night and close them in because they've tried all the animals. They've tried out llamas and they've tried donkeys, and turns out the llama got eaten by the coyote, and the donkey ended up got so used to the coyotes that they just let them in and they didn't really guard. So I'm figuring, you know, if I can just bring them in with feed at night and close them in, they should be fine. It's probably the best we can do anyway. So yeah, gonna get started on that, and I'll show you my progress as we go along.